So obviously, another shooting happened today in Minneapolis, and a Catholic school was shot up. And obviously, that should concern all of us. This is what's making the news. They've been talking about it all day. And, there's the same telltale signs that have been happening that happened in 2023, where you have this transgender confused individual going on a rampage and shooting up people, right? And look, if this is not dealt with, we're going to see more of this, because this seems to be a trend, okay? This seems to be a trend. Like I said, in 2023, you had the Nashville shooter that went, and remember we talked about that, and they found out, through her manifesto and all the other stuff, or it was a her trying to be a he, that she didn't attack the public school where she was bullied, so she wouldn't appear racist. I mean, these are like woke social justice warriors on a rampage to kill people. They're killers, but yet they don't want to appear as racist or something like that. Just ridiculous, right? This is the individual's name change that came out. So this individual obviously was dealing with gender dysphoria or transgenderism. Applicant has changed their name to Robin instead of Robert or something like that. Or Robert or Robin, I don't know. Anyway, this is the name change. Identifies as female, and wants her name something. I can't read that. To reflect that identification. And it was a minor, so I don't know if parent allowed that to happen. Anyway, he fired through the church windows at Catholic school. We're attending Mass this morning at the time, so we started shooting them up. He used a rifle, a shotgun, a pistol in doing this. And, I mean, excuse the language, but he had written everything on his stuff. The guy was definitely anti-Semitic. You can see the 6 million wasn't enough. Excuse the cuss words on there, but you got to see what evil does. Killed Donald Trump, was all over his stuff, obviously, written on everything. Israel must fall. Like a phoenix, we rise from the ashes, that kind of thing. So definitely off the wall, anti-Israel. This was his book that his manifesto was in. So you got, of course, the LGBT flag with all the other colors that are involved in that. This is the, in that manifesto book that you just saw, this was his picture of the church that he had cased out in what he was going to shoot and did shoot up. But he had a lay of the land and, had that all marked out how he wanted to do that. He had also taken target practice with a picture of Jesus' head. And so you can see the target behind the head. And pretty off the charts. And of course, the reaction, from the left is exactly what you would expect. Blames guns. This is manufactured because of hate towards transgender. It's like, no, we're done with you lying like that. We're done with you making that, he did this because of the oppression that he has received. That's nonsense. I'm tired of hearing that. Then you got Senator Chuck Schumer pushing gun control before even the facts come out. It's like, it's the same mantra. They don't want to talk about, hey, this whole thing about gender dysphoria, it's called a mental illness. And you guys don't want to address the mental illness that's going on, and you're actually pushing the mental illness. And then, on top of this, this came out this week, and Snoop Dogg, I guess, had went to a Disney show or whatever, and it's like the Buzz Lightyear one, and it's like two lesbians with a child. And here's the thing, there's an agenda. It's a deep-seated agenda that's flowing through, businesses, churches, the the government, bureaucracies, and all this other stuff. And it's creating lunatics, man. And it's creating people that have mental illness. They don't know their identity. And of course, even, a street guy like Snoop Dogg is talking about it. There's about 20 victims. I think 2 were killed. Others are injured through all of this. Here's Snoop watching, Disney and saying, hey, this is being rammed down my kids' throats or my grandkids' throats. This is Snoop.
I took my grandson to see, what was the movie with Buzz Light?
I think it's called
with Kiki. And man, she had a baby with a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. They putting it everywhere. What up, though? It's your boy Big Snoop D-O-double-G.
Snoop catching some heat for comments he made about LGBTQ representation on the It's Giving podcast. The rapper explaining his shock at seeing lesbian parents depicted on screen. The scene from the 2022 film marked Disney's first same-sex kiss.
Oh, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. Just came and watched the movie. Hey, man, watch the movie. So it's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now. Like, y'all throwing me in the middle of I don't have an answer for it.
The moment was almost axed from the theatrical cut, but Pixar employees protested and got it reinstated.
It threw me for a loop. These are kids that we have to show that at this age, like...
That part.
They're going to ask questions.
Yeah.
They are going to ask... I don't have the answer.
What'd you tell them?
Watch the movie. Eat this popcorn. Shh.
So that's even Snoop Dogg saying this is getting out of control, right? It's out of control. And what are we doing? We're allowing people to go into their mental illness and identify with their sin, and it's making them go crazy. And the proof is in the pudding spiritually. This is exactly what Romans says. If you continue to go into this sinful capacity, this is what happens to you. And even though they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a debased mind to do things that are not fitting. Okay, what does that look like? What does the debased mind do? Well, first of all, being filled with all unrighteousness, sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil-mindedness. They're whisperers, backbiters, haters of God. The guy who puts a picture of Jesus on his target, it's a hater of God. Violent, yeah. Proud, yeah. Boasters, inventors of evil things, yeah. Shooting up kids, yeah. Disobedient to parents, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful, who knowing the righteous judgment of God, that those who practice such things are deserving of death, not only do they the same, but they also approve of those who practice them. That's what Romans is trying to say. That you keep giving yourself over to this demonic mentality, this is how you behave. You become a murderer. You become all of this stuff that it's saying. So it shouldn't shock any of us that this is going on, but a couple of things I wanted to point out, and I'm not going to spend the whole time on this, but I think we all need to understand something. The American Psychiatric Association defined gender dysphoria and transgenderism, or whatever you want to call it, as a mental illness until 2013. Did you know that? Until 2013, it was a mental illness. So why did it change? Well, the American Psychiatric Association no longer wanted to classify transgender identity itself as a disorder, but only under the distress some individuals experience because of it. And I'll explain why. It's all political pressure. It's all cultural pressure. It was not scientific pressure that changed that. And then here comes the World Health Organization, as you know, is the globalist institution that's trying to push globalism, but they're also pushing transgenderism. So in 2019, in the ICD-11, the World Health Organization reclassified transgenderism under gender incongruence and moved it out of the mental health chapter into a section called Conditions Related to Sexual Health. In 2022, the WHO officially implemented this change worldwide. So it went global. Transgenderism went global, is what I'm trying to say. It's not just an American thing, American phenomenon. It had the backing of the World Health Organization. And look, when that happens, that's the same organization that put the mandates out, you know, that CDC followed them and whatnot. So these people did that. This is our medical, scientific people, okay? Why the shift? Well, let me explain the shift. It was heavily influenced by political and cultural activist pressure. The LGBT lobby had pushed for removal, arguing that labeling it a disorder fueled stigma. Okay, so the pressure from them. And by the way, the LGBT lobby groups are very, very well funded. Okay, they're very well funded. They have an agenda. They have a lot of money, and they can put political pressure on people. That's number one. Then the other aspect came from academia and media that applied consistent pressure, framing it as a civil rights issue rather than a mental health issue. Okay? So once it goes civil rights issue, game on. That's what happened. So the APA and the WU wanted to align with global inclusivity standards, fearing backlash and accusations of bigotry if they kept it classified as mental illness. That's what happened. The woke mafia made them cave. That's what happened, okay? It wasn't based on science. It wasn't based on medical or a groundbreaking discovery or anything like that. It was wokeness that caused them to change. And back then, 2013, we didn't call it woke. We called it political correctness. But it's still the same concept. So that's what's happened. It's not like it magically went away. We have always treated this as mental illness. And lo and behold, should we be shocked that someone with mental illness goes and shoots up people that she can't or he can't stand, that seemingly is their enemy, which is not, and targets Christians? Because deep down inside, Romans 1 talks about, they know it. They know that people who do these things deserve death. That's what Romans 1 says. And so they become hostile to that. They become angry that you and I represent the very one that says what they're doing is wrong. They can't attack God, so who are they going to attack? Innocent children. That's how the devil goes after. He can't attack God. He goes after God's people or children. So one of the things that you understand about Romans 1 is that God gives people over to vile passions, okay? Once they are given over to vile passions, then the mental illness starts. That's what happens. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying every mental illness is related to them getting sin. People were born with mental illness. But when we're talking about Romans is trying to say, when someone goes all the way into sin and doesn't come out, and they go deep, it starts causing them to go insane. They don't think straight anymore, right? And so what ends up happening, they get a debased mind or a darkened heart. That is a nomenclature, a debased mind, nomenclature for evil, but mental illness on top of the evil. That's what's happening here. And so now, instead of saying someone's in sin or someone's broke or someone, has had trauma or whatever, now we're saying, we're going to celebrate this rebellion in identity. And that right there causes them to go into more mental illness. Because the deeper you go into the sin, the worse you become, the more debased of a mind you become. It would be the same as this. If someone was to go to hell, do they get to stay the same level of evil as when the first day they came versus 10,000 years in hell? Would they be the same evil or would they be worse? They're worse. That's the nature of sin. The more you're away from God, the worse you become. So yeah, that's right. It's hard to imagine. But somebody that goes to hell today, 10,000 years from now, will be worse than they are now. That's bad. That's how bad sin is. It just takes you down further and further and further. And so what are we looking at here? The more we keep seeing these events, like shootings of innocent people or whatever, riots or whatever we start watching. You're looking at the days of Noah, okay? There's no doubt about it, okay? And what were the characteristics of Noah's day? Number one, corruption. We had people that were their thoughts were continually violent. I didn't show you the videos because they're so off the chart. You can go on X or YouTube and watch this person who filmed themselves. And they have all the guns out, this transgender guy or whatever, and he's talking and going through it. And I didn't play it because it was so off the chart crazy. Demonic, nuts. And I said, I can't show that. It's just too nuts. But if you want to see it, you can see how nuts the person is. They filmed themselves before they went out on this rampage. And it's just they're corrupt. Completely demonic. No doubt about that. What else did we see in Noah's day? Boundary breaking. Rebellion. We had a hybrid situation going on in Noah's day, right? Well, guess what? We don't have angels copulating with women, but we do have people trying to be women who are guys and women trying to be men, and you're still looking at the same kind of concept, a hybrid situation where someone's pretending to be the opposite sex, and they're not. That's kind of a similar thing of a hybrid situation. You're blurring God's creative order. So that was going on. Okay, but here's the thing. As in the days of Noah, what did Jesus say? They were eating and drinking, given into marriage, and then boom, it hit them, right? Without warning. And the flood came. The same thing will be true in the days that we live in. You're going to see more of this corruption. You're going to see more of this. And the more they prize transgenderism, I'm telling you, man, you're like in the last final frontier, because the next frontier after that is pedophilia. That's where it's going. And when you're doing that, you're causing the end of your society. That's what we see at the end of any society, is a hybrid situation. That was the end of Noah's society, was a hybrid situation, and that's what we're seeing again. You're looking at the end of society if this continues to get embraced. Ask yourself this when you go home tonight. We're going to move to some other issues. Are they going to be able to reverse this and say, you know what, we were wrong about all this transgender stuff. We were totally wrong. We're going to stop everything we're doing. Sorry. We're going to tell all the physicians that are doing this to stop, and we're just going to stop all of this. I don't see that happening. And the more you do it, the worse our society gets. And look, the more you embrace homosexuality and lesbianism, the worse our society will get. I mean, for goodness sakes, when you have Snoop Dogg, who is not the paragon of virtue, okay? He's a weed smoker, you know how Snoop Dogg is. When Snoop Dogg is offended at a Disney show with his grandkids, you know it's pretty bad, okay? And by the way, they're blowing up Snoop Dogg. They're just calling him every name in the book, by the way. It's funny how you turn on the woke mob and they turn on you. Anyway, then, as you know, the judgment is unleashed. Well, what's going to happen here is the same thing. The rapture will happen. They're going to be left behind. Days of Lot. Let's talk about that real quick before I move on. Days of Lot. Jesus said it would be like the days of Noah and the days of Lot. And the days of Lot, obviously, was the embracing of homosexuality and perversion sexually, right? And so it was normalized. Well, that's exactly what's happening. It's normalized. And like I've told you, Philip Lee goes to our church. He's a member, and he's trying to help people get out of homosexuality and lesbianism, and we're trying to do everything we can to filter people to him to get them the help they need, because they're broken and they need help, right? But the rest of the churches in town are not doing anything, by the way. They're not even talking about the subject anymore. They have given up on the subject, and they've stopped saying anything. They don't even invite Philip to speak anymore. And so they've thrown up the white flag. We surrender. Go ahead and be gay. And just like they have thrown up the white flag for, we're not going to fight abortion anymore. We surrender on that. And they're surrendering on AB 495. We surrender. We don't care about parental rights. Sorry. Then you're part of the problem. You have surrendered. We have to talk about this, but we also have to get them help. There's no doubt about that, but we can't ignore this. Come on. The other thing, the hatred of truth, Lot called for them to be righteous, and he was mocked. And what was the judgment? The judgment was fire. It consumed the sin. That's what the tribulation will do. So what you saw in the days of Noah, what you saw in the days of Lot, that is a picture of what the tribulation period is going to be when God punishes all of this. And again, you know, we're going to be mocked. You're going to be mocked. You're going to be called homophobic. They were talking about Snoop being homophobic, and he's afraid of lesbians. I don't know if Snoop Dogg's a gangster, okay? I don't think he's afraid of two lesbians. I mean, he grew up in Compton, and I don't think he's afraid of lesbians. So quit saying he's homophobic, because phobic means I'm afraid. He's not afraid, but they always do that. He's fearing the LGBT. No one fears them. But anyway, the problem is, does Disney care that children are being exposed to this? No, they want it. You heard the advertisement. The people who made the Pixar left the scene in, and they knew it would get a backlash, but they kept it in there. Of course, that's why. So anyway, we'll continue to monitor this, but again, it's just more evidence of that happening.
Hey everybody, I need your help, and I need your help in 3 different areas. First of all, I need your help on our channel. Our channel is working against an algorithm, and so we need you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And if you'll do that, that helps us get the message out to many people. It outdoes the algorithm that's working against us. So if you'll do those things, real simple, like, subscribe, hit the bell, it'll get our message out to as many people as possible. The second thing you could do to help us out is prayer. We get a lot of pushback online from not only human beings, but from the demonic realm as well. And so we need prayer. And so if you can pray for our ministry, that would greatly help us out. And third, it takes a lot of financial resources to put these programs on. And so we do a lot of filming, with a lot of editing, a lot of going on location. In fact, sometimes we film in Israel, and we film in Turkey and different places like that. And so it takes a lot of money to do these special programs that we put together. And so we need finances. And so if the Lord puts it on your heart to help us, that would be greatly appreciated by us and our ministry. So those are the 3 ways you can help us. Pray to the Lord how you could do that. Real easy. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, pray, and financially support us. God bless you. Thank you so much.